When people talk, listen, man, I'm going to raise that red flag.
This narrative, especially after 1 year.
1 year.
One bad year. It's one big splash move. And because I don't think people understand how much cap space we can create.
Alex, I want to ask you, because you're a very humble person.
And I'm never going to be right about anything.
Yeah.
I was right.
What's up, y'all? I'm back. This is actually really unplanned, but I jumped on C3 Free For All, I think is what they call it, today, and Cody and the crew were bringing up really good points and really good thought provoking points, I guess, that I've just been here for the last 2-3 hours. Like I'm opening a restaurant, and just like kind of thinking about it. And before I just kind of lost that, I wanted to just kind of get it down in a recording, because what they were talking about is very, very, very interesting. And it centers around Xavier Legettes and his just personality that attracts media attention. Now, I don't necessarily want to talk about Xavier Legettes, because I don't really know if that's super interesting, because honestly, we don't have a ton of data. I have no idea what his relationship is with the players in the locker room. I only know what I see on social media. And for example, in Xavier Legettes' life for the past 6 months, he's been followed around hunting and with his like friends and family. He was at the Hurricanes game having a really good time. You know, he's just an entertaining guy. And he was at the Kentucky Derby. Like, he's just getting followed around because he has a funny accent. He's a fun guy. He's just an interesting guy. So I get it. I mean, it's not a knock against Xavier Legettes. But the interesting part of the conversation is our opinion of that. And what I was going on the journey with is that why we have one, like, at all. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing or a bad thing to have an opinion, but it's more of, why do we have an opinion? And then you have to go through 2 different rabbit holes, right? People that are like, this is a big deal. People that are like, it's not a big deal. But I think that the louder, it's always the louder people that are, I'm not saying that are negative people, but they come from or they're judgmental. I can't think of a good word, but from a let's just say judgmental. I'm not saying that is a bad term, but they have an opinion on it because they don't like what they're seeing. They don't think that is a good thing that's happening for Legettes to be so ingrained in the media. So I want to go through a process that I normally go through of literally the scientific method. You have a question, you create a hypothesis, you gather data, and you come to a conclusion. So for me, you ask the question, is why are people upset that Xavier Legettes is so, let's just say he's like a social media star. And because I think people don't articulate it. Like they'll pick why. I mean, they'll just say like vague terms of why. Like, he's not concentrating on football. Well, you don't know that. Nobody knows that. Because I think that it's just a misguided, not well thought out way to put it. It's just make it very black and white, saying, hey, this guy's doing this. He's on social media all the time, so he doesn't care about football. It's too black and white. I think it's deeper than that, and I kind of want to go through that journey, because I think it's fun. I mean, that's not fun, but it's interesting. So immediately what comes to my mind, because I have a 17-month-old daughter, and I can't watch movies unless they're basically Disney. like no guns, no blood, no anything. So I tend to go to like 90s sports movies. So I pretty much just quote them at this point. Um, but what's kind of cool about that is when you're making kid movies, you're trying to simplify things at its very basic plot, theme, whatever you want to call it, for the movie. And most of them are pretty much the same. If you work really hard, anything's possible. If you have a good character, then karma's real. Like different things like that. So when I was on the podcast with C3, I immediately thought of Mighty Ducks 2, when Gordon Bombay is like this, great coach, and then he starts to go on this journey, this media journey. He starts combing his hair slick back, wearing suits, posing for Wheaties and all that kind of stuff, until it kind of bites him in the ass. And then he kind of rediscovers who he is. And in his apology, he pulls up a life-size photo of him and basically says, we need to get rid of the distractions. And he says, this is a distraction. And it's him, life-size. And then he lights a match, and it's a fire in a barrel. He said, this is a fire in a barrel. He says, this is a distraction and a fire in a barrel. And everybody applauds. But that's it. That's the basic thing. It's like, we know, we don't articulate it, but we know at our very core, because this is a children's movie, that distractions in sports is not a good thing. We internally know that because Disney wouldn't make a movie about it if it didn't resonate with us, right? So I don't want to get too involved with that. And then you have movies like Remember the Titans, right? And everybody's kind of like, it's a segregated. If you're watching this, I'm almost positive you've probably seen Remember the Titans. But everything's segregated into black and white. And when people think differently, they're kind of not a part of the group. Like Sunshine is a little odd. So he's kind of like, and he kind of says it. He says, what's the guy's name? I don't know, but he says, Sunshine, are you like that way? And he's like, what are you talking about, Petey? He's like, I just got to know. It's not a big deal. I just got to know. And he says, well, if it's not a big deal, then why is it a problem? Which is true. Like, you don't need to know. You don't need to know everything about my life. We should be able to have common ground and come together. And what happens is they go to camp, they have their whatever, and they end up becoming a very close-knit, tight bunch. Because the theme of that movie is it's about the we, not the me. Even the cornerback is like, yo, I can't cover this guy. PD needs to come cover him. Hey, coach, I can't make that pitch. I believe in you. It's a family kind of like idea. So these are very basic principles that we just know to be true, or else Disney wouldn't make movies about it, honestly. So let's take this let's just consider these facts, because I'm all about numbers, factual information. So let's consider that these various basic principles are facts. It's about the we, not the me. And it's about limiting distractions. This is what a lot of these sports movies are about. So let's take this at its core and let's start talking about, because we've already have the factual information that we're looking for, that I'm just declaring as facts because Disney wouldn't make movies about it if they weren't facts. And let's take, why would we, with those facts, that factual information, be concerned? So let's look at historical data. So let's start. And actually, before I go on, I want to shout out One Carolina, because he had this concern. He was concerned that Xavier Legettes would fall into being a caricature and more like a media, I don't know, joke. And I'm going to say, because one, it's a distraction, and because two, it shows me before we. So let's talk about a very broad, over sports, over multiple sports of examples of this. So we can sort of start bridging the gap between these very basic principles of Disney and our concerns about Xavier Legettes. So let's just say basketball. Wilt Chamberlain at 100 points in the game. He was breaking all sorts of records. He was absolutely incredible. He won 2 championships in an 8-team league. Might have been the best athlete in basketball history. Put up numbers, was sensational. Bill Russell has 11 rings. Wilt Chamberlain played the blame game. Is who I was playing with. And he goes to LA. And he goes to a super team with Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. And he still couldn't beat a Bob Cousy-less Celtics team. Because the Celtics were about the we, and Wilt Chamberlain was about the me. Same. I mean, and I don't want to call all these players, but you internally kind of know who they are. Like Charles Barkley makes fun of LeBron James all the time. Charles Barkley was playing with Dr. J, didn't work. Goes to Phoenix, plays with Dan Marjorie, Kevin Johnson. Goes to finals, wins MVP of the league, and he said, I can't. And he said, I don't have enough, basically. And he goes and joins Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon, because it was about what I don't have. It was about the me and not about the we. AI, talk about practice. Yeah, man, we are talking about practice. You're not focused on the team. You're focused on the me. Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was supposed to be the third Heedle, which would have been fantastic. But he wanted to get his money early, forced a trade to the Knicks so he can get paid a year early, depleted the talent of the Knicks team because he wasn't worried about winning championships. He was focused on the me. It's just, and I'm not trying to pick on these players, but like, get your money, man. It's just different, right? And when I have to come to these conclusions, I have to talk about it from a fan's point of view, because we want our team to win. I can like XL all day. I can like Cam all day. I can like all these guys that have big personalities all day. But at the end of the day, I want the Panthers to win a championship. So look at the opposite of that. Guys that did win championships. Bill Russell did everything he needed to do to win. Larry Bird has won Finals MVP because he wanted to win rings. He didn't care about being Finals MVP. Isaiah Thomas, the Bad Boys, was team. Dr. J saying, hey man, I need Moses Malone to come over here and I'll take a back seat because it's not about me. I want to win a ring. The Sixers won. The Knicks, and 73 Knicks. Hey man, Earl Monroe, I need him. Everybody else takes a back seat. 73 Knicks might be my favorite team of all time because all of them decided it's about the we and not the me. So we have the other side of that. We have examples, right? So these are, in my opinion, these are like the obvious ones of like we versus me kind of things. Now, I just want to go to can you be both? Can you just be young, make mistakes, and learn from them? And this is by far the largest data set, right? And we're just, I'm using basketball. I'll eventually get to football, but I'm just using basketball because it's a five person team, and it's a lot more obvious of a comparison. Pat Riley goes to Magic, and it's like, yo, it's your team. It's not Kareem's team anymore. Kareem, you got to take a back seat. Kareem did it because he wanted to win. Hey, Larry Bird, we're bringing Bill Walton. Hey, Robert Parrish, we're bringing in Bill Walton. And Parrish is like, yeah, I want to win. I don't care. Like, if he's gonna help our team win, great, fantastic. Hey, Dwayne Wade, I know you're the face of Miami, but you're not gonna win any more rings. You need LeBron's the best player in the league. We need him to be the guy. Hey, Steph Curry, people are gonna love you with the Warriors, but it doesn't look like you can win any more rings if you stay as is. You gotta be willing to take the backseat to Kevin Durant. And he said, yeah, it's because it's about the we. It's about the we of the team. Shaq wanted all the spotlight, and Penny was getting it, so he wanted to go to the Lakers. And when he went to the Lakers, it wasn't any better. And so Phil Jackson comes in, and he shows everybody it's about the we, not about the me. And when did that Lakers dynasty with Kobe and Shaq fall? When Shaq and Kobe started making it about the me's and not the we's. And Kobe's got his rings later because he changed. So a lot of the times you see the human element in sports. That's why we love it. You see these guys ebb and flow. You see these guys learn, grow. I was young then. You can be young. You can make mistakes. You can be Kobe, and you can have a fallout with Shaq and lose to a way lesser opponent in the 2004 Pistons, and have Shaq go to the Heat and win a title in 2006, and you demand a trade. You can do all of that and then grow from it. I think NBA is a really good way to articulate, or actually maybe go to the next step of what Disney kind of already does for us. So let's look at comps for Excel. And the problem is that the great thing about football and the hard thing about football is that 11 people are on the team at a time. It's so hard to compare one to the other. You can based on skill set, but it's so hard to say this person failed because of this, or this person was good because of this. So what I did is I kind of just like went through some guys, and I just simplified it as kind of wow guys, kind of like expected. And I think that's why people like are. I think that's why Excel's fun, is because he has so much upside, so much charisma, so much raw athleticism. So I just looked at examples of like wow guys, and there's examples of guys kind of being distracted early and then coming on later. And there's guys that get distracted early and yikes. So the problem with like excellent athletes is that they've been excellent their whole career. Like it's so hard to understand what your body breaking down is. So a lot of these guys like Leggett was, I mean, at the end of the day, Leggett was hurt a lot of the games this past year, which reminds me of guys like Christian Watson, Will Fuller, like these guys, like Kadarius Toney, these guys that are like big personality, and not so much Christian Watson, but the guys that like, they were probably the most popular kid in their high school. They're probably the most popular kid in college. They have charisma. They're used to getting attention. They're used to being fantastic athletes. They're used to, talking to media. And it goes back to distraction and me versus we. So guys that like Chase Claypool, yeah, you're exciting, but you're not building. You're not going to your other teammates. You're not asking questions. I don't know, and I'm not saying that Xavier Legettes is not doing this. I'm saying that these are things that can come up with this kind of stuff. And that's a very slippery slope. Like Chase Claypool was out of the league in 4 years. Christian Watson 3 years later, He looked like he was the next big thing for Green Bay. And then he just got hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt. Will Fuller, first round pick, just kept on getting hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt. And Kadarius Toney, what's going on rap career? Like they get so involved, and it's almost like a drug. Like the media attention is such a drug that you're doing whatever you can to get a hold of that. But there are guys that kind of are finding their way, like Jerry Jeudy. He just had a big season. Jameson Williams just had a big season. Like, there are examples of either way. So even though our concerns should be there, it's still a human being. We don't know what they're going to be. We can just hope. And we gotta. What we really need to hope for is good organizations. Because what happens is when bad organizations get, like, the Giants, Giants historically have a good organization, but recently, Kadarius Toney, not a good situation. Jerry Jeudy with that time with the Broncos, not a good situation. Guys like Terrace Marshall Jr. with the Panthers, not a good situation. But when you get good coaching, good organizations, like when Toney went to the Chiefs, when Dan Campbell basically held Jameson Williams accountable. And I think that's when it comes overall, when it comes down to, is that these guys start excelling when they have leadership. And when I was on the podcast with these guys, I kind of just put it on Bryce. I wasn't criticizing Bryce, but Bryce is the leader of the offense. But he's young too. But when you start seeing these flags early, and that's what I think that's why what everybody's saying about Excel right now, they're just flags. Doesn't mean he's going to fall into a trap of being obsessed with media and being a narcissist and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't mean that. But I think that's what most Panther fans are concerned about, is that could happen. And if you're a Panthers fan, you're going to be pretty pessimistic. So I think that is an articulate way that is the most basic way we can work through that mindset, instead of kind of just, because when I was on there, people were just like arguing back and forth based on emotion instead of saying, why do I feel this way? And I think the concern is we've seen this before. And Panthers, a lot of bad has happened recently, so we're even more pessimistic than usual. And here's another thing that is a toxic trait that Panthers fans are starting to have, is we're pinning players against each other. So not only are we concerned about Leggett, we're saying not only is Leggett already a bust, which we know we should not do that after a year, as we saw with Bryce, we're saying the undrafted guy is better, which is one terrible analysis, because football analysis should never be black and white. Yes, I'm excited about Coker, and I'm excited about what Leggett can be. And I know there's flags on both of them. But when we start having like the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate about our wide receivers that were both rookies last year, we just should not. We just need to stop doing it. But something to keep in mind, because historical data is a thing. There have been successful undrafted wide receivers in the NFL, but there ain't a lot of them. Doug Baldwin was a successful undrafted free agent. Doug Baldwin's first 3 years, 788 yards, 4 touchdowns, 366 yards, 3 touchdowns, 778 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Adam Thielen's probably the other one that would come to mind. His first 3 years, 137 yards, 1 touchdown, 144 yards, 0 touchdowns, 967 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then Wes Welker he's kind of like, it's just like kind of a weird, I think that he was more like system than he was, doesn't matter what I think. But his first 3 years, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, 434 yards, 0 touchdowns, 697 yards, 1 touchdown. Historical data is basically telling us don't get too excited. If you take away his like 80-yard touchdown, which is basically a bunch of missed tackles, dude has like 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. Vele for the Broncos was also undrafted. He had like 400 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like we should be happy about that. But we got to stop, one, comparing the two and putting these big expectations on guys that it would be an anomaly if they met those expectations, especially early. Because none of these guys hit 1,000 yards in the first 3 years. Thielen ended up being a 2-time Pro Bowler. I think Baldwin was a 3-time Pro Bowler. But it's just not healthy. It really isn't healthy to not only be like, I don't think that Excel is going to be good. And not only that, I think this undrafted guy is going to be better. And I think Excel is going to bust and this guy's going to be amazing. How's that good for anybody? And what's the logic? What's the historical data? It's just like and the fact we just butt heads about it, we argue about it. Because it's all subjective. Excel got forced into the X role when Deontay left. Coker got lucky that Adam Thielen got hurt and he got more reps. It's just a different situation. Different defenses. You got to give way more than a rookie season of data before you can start doing anything with any of these guys. That all said, that's basically, this is nothing like most of my episodes. But other ways to see what the media can do to level of play, and this is another reason why we're worried. What happened to Travis Kelce this year? Say he's old, but what happened to him? Tyreek Hill, Aaron Rodgers, CJ Stroud, Russell Wilson. Like, these guys were great. And then they got too me. And man, it just shows why the concern should be there. But it's so early. It's so early. And like I said, more likely than not, based on like actual data, they just grow up. Guys just grow up. I think Excel's gonna be fine. I think he's a fun, interesting guy. The Panthers don't have a lot of veteran leadership, and they're gonna grow. They're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna get closer. Jonathan Stewart said that 7-8-1 Panthers team weren't a family until they went through that, and that led to the 15-1 season. So you have to get there. They got to go through their own journeys. But I think there should be eyebrow raise. And like I said, credit to John at One Carolina because he saw it first. But I don't think that we should come to conclusions yet on that. And what I hope for is that guys like Thielen, Bryce, kind of bring this out. Because he is kind of outcasted, not because he's like not like a loser, but I'm saying he's like outcasted because he's just different. Bring him in. We're buds. We're best friends. Let's go to games together. Can I come to the Hurricanes game with you? Can we grow? Can we be brothers? Can we go to war together? I think that's when the team makes the next step, and hopefully it happens. We'll see. But yeah, I just wanted to get this down. I appreciate you guys for listening. Until next time, peace.